You're muted, Commissioner.
I'll start over. Sorry about that. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Commission on Human Trafficking Commission meeting on February 4th. This is a fully virtual meeting, so that we won't be taking any confirmed actions today. However, there may be some consensus that we can agree upon. With that, I'd like to ask for a roll call for attendance for those board members and determining of a virtual quorum.
All right, I'll go ahead and do that. We're going to start off with Kimberly Overman.
Here.
Captain Jeffrey Harris.
Here.
And Aileen Kemp.
Here.
Deputy Chief Lee Bercaw.
Here.
School Representative Karen Perez.
Here.
Tina Smith.
Play with my friends. We ran around a little bit, and I went.
Dottie Grover Skipper.
I'm here.
That's what.
Jennifer
Glacier here.
Glacier, thank you.
You're welcome.
Brenda Taylor.
I told it to my kids.
Detective Sergeant Kevin Dunkert.
Kevin Durkin, I'm here.
Charles Krug.
Charles Clerk here.
Yep, thank you. Iris Dunaway.
Here.
Chief Judge Ronald. Gotta help me with that one. Figueroa, thank you.
Here.
Public Defender Julianne Holt. Connie Rose.
Here.
Captain Robert Stanley.
I'm here.
Elizabeth Gutierrez.
Here.
Corporal Gennard Baker.
Here.
And I believe that's everyone I had on my list.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, so if everyone could mute their devices, whoever they're checking in, we'll make sure we'll minimize the background noise. With that, and I don't know if we have a flag that we can show, but I'd love to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I have a flag behind me, so I'm good. And I'll lead. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which I stand, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Another item that I wanted to ask is, this week has been a tough week. We've had some law enforcement officers that have, in their duty, have lost their lives. So I'd like to ask for a moment of silence. And now that we've done the roll call and the quorum, to recognize the several law enforcement officials who recently died in the line of duty. We have lost one of our local first responders, and which has absolutely impacted our community profoundly. And we honored Sergeant Brian Roy Levine yesterday when he lost his life on January 11th from the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office and made the ultimate sacrifice while rushing to a colleague's aid to help apprehend a suspect. In addition to that, this past Tuesday, two FBI agents, Daniel Alphen and Lawrence Schwarzenberger, were killed in South Florida while serving a warrant on a child pornography case. In these difficult times, let us come together as one community and honor those that have chosen to serve and protect so valiantly. And let's also keep in our prayers those that were injured in the incident that occurred on Tuesday. Please join me in a moment of silence while we honor these fallen heroes and those that were injured. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. We've got some heroes out there, and those and their families have all stepped forward to keep our citizens safe as we attempt to do our job at that as well. I'd like to welcome everyone that's attended. Thank you very much for being here today. Normally we would approve the minutes, but given that we're a virtual meeting and prohibited to do it from doing so under the state statute, we will defer the approval of the minutes for October 28th and December 10th and to our next meeting, but please take the time to review those that were put into your backup. The next item on the agenda is approval of a calendar for 2021. And while we can't approve it, I'm not seeing in the backup the actual calendar for everyone to review. Dr. Curry, is that available that we could actually send out to the board members for some consensus on where that stands? Or could you kind of...
Today, but we'll send that out.
Okay. So the structure of our calendar for this commission is typically we have 6 meetings a year, and we wrap those meetings around the statewide council meetings in order to allow the members of this commission to either virtually or physically attend those meetings. I think it's very valuable, as I will talk about a little bit later, to hear what's happening as we coordinate our efforts with the statewide task force and with the Attorney General's agenda as it pertains to human trafficking. So I'm going to ask Dr. Curry and her staff to make sure that gets out to you so that we can approve the calendar. But when you get that, I believe we've worked out a lot of the details so that people can actually plan to make sure they can attend, because that's so critically important that we move our mission forward. I'd also like to take this opportunity, since we sort of skipped introductions other than say, hi, everybody, you're all here, to ask Dr. Curry to introduce her wonderful support team that she now has. Dr. Curry, are you available to do that and introduce Randall to the team? We may have lost her. There she is. Okay.
I am. I'm here. My connection is proving spotty right now, so I'm trying to make some changes to that. But I'm really thrilled to introduce Randall Cineas to our team. So Randall, are you here? He may be having trouble getting on, but in the interim, Randall is amazing. He actually did an internship on sustainability with the county prior to joining us to do this work. Randall is also, I'll brag for him since he won't say it, he's training for the Olympics for the 400 right now. So that's pretty thrilling to have him here. He brings sustainability focus and equity focus to this work. And I think that that's really wisely paired up with the work that we are doing moving forward. So welcome, Randall.
Welcome, Randall. Actually, he just checked in. There he is. Randall, you're recognized.
Excellent.
Hello, everybody. I am so sorry for being late. Public libraries are very public. Let's just put it that way. There was, I reserved a private room, but then I get here and they say, we don't reserve private rooms here. So, you know, the typical COVID-19 story, everything shut down. So hi, everybody. My name is Randall Cineas. If you haven't already met me, I am the new program coordinator for the Commission on Human Trafficking. I work under Dr. Heather Curry, and this is my first meeting. I believe that you guys are all meeting me, so thank you for giving me your time to introduce myself. I recently graduated in May with my master's in global sustainability from the University of South Florida. I'm going to say this before Dr. Curry gets a chance to. I am currently training for the Olympic Games, Tokyo 2021. I am a 400-meter dash sprinter. I run for Puma. I will be competing for Haiti. That is where my parents are from. I'm originally from Miami. That's pretty much it. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be working for the Human Commission on Human Trafficking, and excited for the plenty of more projects that we have to work on this year. Thank you for that time.
And I just want to welcome you. And what he hasn't shared with you is when he was working with our county's sustainable team, He worked on the project in order to help Hillsborough County be one of the three municipal or county applicants to receive the award for the LEEDS certification. If I got that right?
Yes, we became platinum certified. We are one of the 3 municipal projects that became platinum certified, which is the highest achievement that you can get under the LEED certification system for cities.
So not only does he excel in sports in terms of the dash, but he excels in accomplishing a mission and helping us shine. So we are very, very fortunate, and thank you very much for joining us, Randall. I'm
Thank you.
sure Dr. Curry is thrilled, as I am, to have you as part of the team. Thank you. With that, the next item on the agenda is a member discussion on the working groups. You know, each of us are working on various different elements associated with our mission with human trafficking. And we'll talk a little bit about meeting schedules and where we can, as far as which each of the working groups know their goals and objectives and what their meeting necessities would be. But importantly, I think there is some differences in how this schedule would work. And the first item or first working group to report is the Legislative and Judicial Affairs. Before the chair of that group actually brings it up, a little bit later, I'm going to be talking about some legislative agendas that will impact that agenda, legislative bills that have been submitted that will affect that agenda, and we'll be addressing some of that work. But with that, I'd like to recognize Julian Holt. I believe you're the lead on that working group. Or actually, who is the lead on that working group? Dr. Curry?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's Dr. Curry.
Dr. Curry.
She's going to be busy today.
She's
Right. I cannot actually my computer is doing all kinds of amazing things right now, none of them good. So we're just going to roll through it as best we can. Right. I think the most recent, this is going back to our October meeting, but our most recent endeavor has been to consider what it might look like to have a victims treatment court and what it means to open up that conversation and talk about statewide models and how we can integrate that into our conversation. So that was our last kind of endeavor where we left off. I think looking forward, my understanding from the group is that we're really looking at, streamlined investigation processes and coordination with our victim services and resources and the victim treatment court.
Excellent. And an interesting development that has recently come up, and working with the county's legislative team in looking at not only budgets, but a variety of priorities within the county. The issues associated with supportive resources for beds for those that are in need of either housing or a safe place. I've asked our staff to take a look at how we could include human trafficking victims as a qualifying individual for those types of support. So it's not in this particular working group's agenda, but I'm making sure that if we are able to offer the judicial pathway that allows for a human trafficking victim to be treated in a certain way, we want to make sure that they have this safety net intact. So that's something that will come along the way. The next working group is education and awareness.
Okay, I can't get my video to start, so I'll give up on that one. But education and awareness, if anybody wants to complement what I'm about to say, please do. One of the things that we're considering, since we developed content for the campaigns, distributed that in collaboration with our Survivor Advisory Committee, I think the next step is really looking forward to what does it look like beyond the Super Bowl? How do we continue to increase the training capacity of the Hillsborough Heroes program in particular? One of the things that I've been talking with folks about is what makes the Hillsborough Heroes program stand out in many ways, besides the investigation background and the victim services bridge that it creates, is also that we track the data through that program. So in terms of really following the data, having the efficacy of those training programs be recorded, I think that program has a particular eye toward accountability. So I'd like to really see us grow that. Additionally, you all saw the Tampa teens present at the October meeting, and I want to bring that focus back to the young humans in our community and see how we can really engage. This is in tandem with a lot of people, the conversations that are out there. How can we engage the young humans in creating the content, distributing the content, kind of determining and being the arbiters of what that training looks like in our community? Does anybody from the education and awareness group have any follow-up on that?
Seeing none, I'm going to suggest we move on to the next working group, communications and media, of which there has been plenty in the last few weeks. I'm going to start getting camera shy here, which is just a pleasure to be able to keep this in the forefront. But I'll ask the working group to speak about what their goals are for the next, 3 to 6 months, and what things they're currently working on.
Do we have, I know Santiago's been a good spokesperson for, well, actually, no, I'm sorry. Liz Gutierrez or anyone else from that team, if you have something that you want to kind of identify from our conversations, which have been sparse leading up to the Super Bowl. So, but Liz, maybe you could speak to, especially expanding those communications and media pieces into South County in particular, and kind of East Hillsborough County, and paying attention to that in a different way.
Yes, absolutely. From our part, Enterprise and Latinas as an organization has tried to push out all the messages that you've been providing us, which is very, very well done. So the video messages, all the communications, every time we see them, we push them out through our different sites, and have been communicating also to the various groups that we're hosting, convening in Waimama, including a group that we organize around COVID-19, and then the other group that we're organized around neighborhood planning. So we're using all of the mediums that we have to get the information out, and also into the hands of the people that we're serving that are on the ground, and sometimes affected by some of these very conditions. We just need to be more strategic about it and more intentional about it, and that's really a question of time.
Right, and just to follow up, Liz, I probably will be tapping some folks to find a really good representative from our Latinx community to talk about anti-human trafficking work. I know we've gotten approached by a couple of different Spanish language radio stations, and so that was something that we don't really currently have that resource, but we're trying to build those resources and find those connections with people.
Yeah, I think we'd be very happy to coordinate with you, either finding people that can speak to the issue, or young people from the community as well.
Awesome.
As you were saying, in terms of getting those voices heard and having them be involved in the
Right.
process of educating the larger public, they're the best voices.
Wonderful, thank you.
I would like to ask a question. The working group also, I'm assuming under services and resources, we'll hear a little bit about it, but I wanted to affirm that the communications and media will be developing a partnership with the school system to make sure the kids are getting the training and the outreach, and parents are getting the communication that they need to help protect children that might be at risk in this particular circumstance, especially since we have so many of them staying home. Figuring out a way to get that information out, I think, would be very valuable. And I'd love to see some progress in that area if we've not already got it in place, or a presentation on it. Next is services and resources. Who has the lead on that, Dr. Curry?
Could I ask Kathleen Kemke to talk about that, since I think that's where the most active conversation has been taking place?
Well, sure. We have a human trafficking care coordinator now at the crisis center, thanks to the VOCC, and actually she had her first 2 clients this past week. So I am currently, what I'm doing is reviewing the 14 cases we had last year, also keeping that data so that we can see if it's increased with the additional media and things that have been done, especially over the last few weeks, and also looking at those records very closely to see what was needed then and what we have now. We have we are currently working on making our human trafficking resources more robust, and that's going very well. They will be in one of two places. They'll either be in 211 at your service on the crisis center website, or we will have those for those clients, for those service providers that are smaller and don't want the deluge of calls they might be getting being in that 211 at your service website. We'll have a smaller resource guide that will go out to everyone. So we're hopeful. I mean, I see a lot of progress already just in the few short months that we've been doing this.
That's terrific. That's excellent. Excellent. In your backup of the materials that you received, you'll find, as it pertains to both communications, media, and awareness, a 2-page list of all the links of exposure and articles and press and writing about, you know, the entire, our efforts, our progress, the partnership with It's Penalty, the Don't Buy It campaign, all of it is in there. I'll talk a little bit more specifically about that in a minute, but you do have a lot of references. So if you want to share any of those pieces with your social media or your audience, Dr. Curry and Randall put together a really nice short sheet, which actually is 2 pages, of the various different press that we've received regarding this issue, and important information about what the Commission on Human Trafficking is actually being able to adopt. So I just want to thank all the working groups. What I'd ask you to do is put together a list of key goals you'd like to accomplish over the next 3 to 6 months, and make that your agenda items for your next set of working groups. Reach out to your working group and get on the calendar so that we continue moving this agenda forward. Next item is the chair's report, and so I'll keep that as short as possible. The good news is I had an opportunity to speak both at the Statewide Council on Human Trafficking as well as the Subcommittee on Criminal Justice, where I brought them up to speed on our local efforts, not only with our sustainable campaign, but with the efforts that are currently in motion and with the partnership with the NFL, It's Penalty, you know, the International Justice. So we've had great partnerships here, and brought them up to speed on where our efforts are and what goals we still have yet to achieve, but to share with them about not only the Super Bowl campaign, but the progress that we've made on the sustainable campaign. We've had, you know, great star power that's helped us in getting that message out there with Titus O'Neil from WWE, Chris Godwin and William Golson, both of the Bucks, as well as a variety of national football players brought to us to highlight this, and using that star power to have people pay attention. There was a press conference at the airport, not only to roll out the Tampa International Airport's outreach and awareness campaign and their signage campaign to make sure people are aware that as they travel to the Tampa Bay area of the importance of keeping an eye out for human trafficking and how to report it. We've had also a secondary and just as important press conference last week, I believe, by Representative Toledo and a variety of other co-sponsors on the bills that I'll discuss, or at least bring up in a few minutes, talking about the bills that are being considered at the House and Senate with Senator Book's support on the Senate side, in looking at ways that we can assist not only the investigations, but more importantly, make sure that victims have the ability to rebuild their lives with a somewhat of a better start after they've been through the trauma they've been through. I got an opportunity to speak at the Super Bowl 55 podcast on Tuesday, along with, I feel like I've got some star power here because there's only one done a day, and we have, I followed Derek Brooks, and you can't get it better than that. If you know anything about football, Derek is the guy. But I followed Derek Brooks, and then the mayor did hers yesterday. So there's a variety of leaders in our community that are speaking about the various different elements of the Super Bowl. But my topic was primarily at highlighting how critically important the NFL's efforts to tackle human trafficking as an issue, as one of their social justice issues, and how we have partnered with them to help get that message out there and to address human trafficking, not only locally with big events, but more importantly, nationally and globally. So it was a great opportunity to get lots and lots and lots of awareness. It seems like the last couple of days I've done more interviews about human trafficking than I've ever done in my life. So we're getting the information out. Shortly after I did the podcast, I did a virtual press conference in partnership with the Crisis Center, sharing with our journalists and media in the area of that partnership and the value that brings to the process of making sure that those that are in need of assistance as they experience human trafficking or in need of support, that they can reach out to the Crisis Center, and the great work that they've done, not only in providing that continuum of care, sort of, but also in terms of having a way to address the hotline, a local hotline, in concert with what we have as far as a national hotline. In addition to that, I highlighted the app that's available, the Tampa Bay Human Trafficking Task Force app, which I've downloaded to my phone to help people recognize they can use that as a tool to be able to see something, say something anonymously, and be able to help law enforcement respond rather quickly in the Tampa Bay area. So all those things are very good, and I expect that Lee Bercaw will speak a little bit about that as we move on. The last item on my chair's report really relates to the bills that are being proposed by our state legislators. And that's why I want to make sure that our working group under Legislative and Judicial Affairs are aware of these bills, so that we can include those in our work and how we best address some of the concerns that are brought up within the legislation, but how it actually gets implemented locally should these bills move through the process. The first is the complementary bill on the Senate side, as I mentioned, 812. In your agenda, it's incorrect. It's listed as SB 525. So if you'll correct your agenda to say it's SB 812 is the complementary Senate side piece of legislation that complements the two bills on the House side. That's House Bill 523 and its related bill, House Bill 525. All of these bills address the process of gathering the information from the victim, and addresses some of the challenges associated with previous legal issues where expungement may need to be a way of helping that person move forward. It also has some language in it that addresses the legal process for a quick and speedy trial, to ask, I believe, for more time. But as we get through all of this legislation and review the language within it, I want to develop a short sheet of the goals that we'd like to make sure are addressed in the legislation, and provide that to our local delegation so that they can understand how it will impact or help our efforts at the local level as it pertains to addressing human trafficking needs. Heather, I got a word that you had someone that might want to address one of those bills. Did you want to do that now?
Sure. Brent Woody, I see that you're on the call. Did you have anything that you wanted to say to complement that? I know that you were on the press conference with Jackie Toledo. So would you mind just saying a couple of words?
And introduce yourself too, please.
Sure. I'll just make sure you can hear me first.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
We're good. Okay. Yeah, my name is Brent Woody. I'm the lead attorney and executive director of the Justice Restoration Center. And our particular focus was with respect to HB 523 and the provisions related to expunging criminal records. Florida has, since 2013, had a very robust statute that addressed this issue and provided great relief for trafficking victims who came out of the trafficking situation with criminal records. But we discovered over the years that it needed some significant fixes. They're fairly minor things, but they are major things when it comes to the victims that are filing these petitions. So that's of particular interest to us. It's related to court clerk fees, confidentiality, some other technical issues that create these barriers. So that's our particular interest. We're certainly, of course, supportive of the rest of the bill.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that insight. And we'll bring more to come on those two developments that actually just came up last week. So the good news is we're starting to see additional efforts to assist in not only the investigations, but also in supporting our victims or those that have been able to make the choice to move forward, and maybe make it a little easier for them to be able to assist in the investigation. The next item is there anyone else that would like that may have looked at it or have reviewed it that they'd like to comment at this point before I move on to the next item, the update from the task force?
Commissioner Overman, it's Dottie Gruber-Skipper.
You're recommended.
Yes, I just wanted to give kudos to Brent because I know he's been the expungement guru for many years, and the loopholes have just been causing havoc with his work, all the pro bono legal work that he does for survivors. So the bill, I think, is still in draft form, and I think it does need some tweaking, but it's an excellent bill, and I think it will certainly help Brent Woody's how he helps the survivors move forward in their life. So I just wanted to give him kudos.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. Anyone else? I don't see hands raised or waving or jumping up and down, so I'm assuming we can move on. The next item on the agenda is the update from the task force, and we'll hear from Assistant Chief Lee Bercaw or Major Jeffrey Harris. I believe they're both on the call. So I'm going to recognize Lee Bercaw initially. Lee?
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. And I'll focus specifically on the Super Bowl Human Trafficking Subcommittee because that's what we're embedded in right now. Major Harris and I are coordinating the efforts of that. And the task force is critical to our operation because all the members of the task force are assisting us this week. And I do see Lisa on here as well. She may want to speak a little bit about the task force after the major. In addition, I also see Susan Bradford, which was a huge help for us on the strip clubs and massage parlors. So our Super Bowl operations for the Super Bowl began almost a year ago with phase 1 of our education and awareness. And phase 2 was our pre-operations, working cohesively together, killing two birds with one stone, so to speak. While we're fine-tuning our efforts for this week, we're also making a difference for many victims' lives in our efforts. And so our efforts this Super Bowl actually began last Thursday with massage parlors and Susan Bradford helping out with that. So since then, everybody working on this has been working nonstop. Some of these days are going 20 plus hours a day. So these detectives and officers that are working it are dedicated. And this is a personal thing for them because they really do care about this. And even we have FBI agents that are helping us, and they are not skipping a beat when 2 of their own were tragically killed that Commissioner you mentioned earlier. Long week for them. They're about halfway through, but they also couldn't do it without all the assistance of the NGOs, this commission, the task force, the statewide council. Everybody in the state has come together to make this a success. And I know this has come up before, especially with the task force, is what about after the Super Bowl? Well, it's always been the intention to continue. Obviously, the task force got a grant and they're going past the Super Bowl. But that's always been the contention, is that we were going to continue. And now you saw recently we had the WrestleMania put back in there. So that's something new on our horizon. So that's a quick update. Major Harris, do you have anything else to add?
Good afternoon, Commissioner. I can echo what Assistant Chief Bercaw said. The biggest thing, the detectives and the officers and the civilian staff that are involved in these Super Bowl operations, they've been going since we started last Friday, and 15, 20-hour days. They really believe in the cause, and we've made a lot of great success in just a few days. So that's all I have, and I just echo what the Assistant Chief said.
Thank you very much. I see Lisa Thelwell. Would you like to comment on?
Sure. Thank you so much, Commissioner Overman, for the opportunity to address everyone. And I would just echo the same sentiments. Well, let me back up. My name is Lisa Thelwell. I'm an Assistant United States Attorney here at the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Middle District of Florida, and I serve as our Human Trafficking Coordinator for the district. In that role, I'm also working closely with the Tampa Bay Regional Task Force, and they have been doing a phenomenal job, obviously in preparation for the Super Bowl, working together. And I've been speaking with some of our law enforcement partners throughout the week. And one thing I'll say that I really admire is, how much work that they're putting in, as was mentioned, over maybe 20 hours in one day. But apart from the active Super Bowl operations that they're working, they're also working other cases and continuing to move those investigations forward so that we can prosecute people who choose to traffic other individuals. So I'm really proud of the efforts that all of the different law enforcement agencies coming together, as well as obviously partnering with my office and Hillsborough State Attorney's Office, as well as the Office of Statewide Prosecution, so that we can all advance the same cause. So I'm just grateful to be able to work alongside all of you. Thank you.
Well, thank you for being here today, because I got a chance to really meet you at the statewide meeting. So I'm glad you were able to be here today. Is there anyone else that wants to speak regarding the task force efforts locally? Well, the one thing that I have seen, and then I'll move on to the next item, is the massive outreach. It's been impressive, and it's great, the team effort. When I did the podcast, I used all football acronyms. We've got a great offense and we've got a great defense, and the task force and the commission, as well as in partnership with the state, you've got a great team, as well as with all of our victim advocates, our major stakeholders with Visit Tampa Bay, the port, and the airport. We're working together as a team, and we are definitely getting some touchdowns here. But I couldn't resist. But the good news is we're actually making some inroads here, and I think the ground level work that we're doing here is starting to reflect in not only support services, but also in investigations and legislation. So those are all excellent things.
Commissioner Overman, may I?
Yeah.
Donna Gruber Skipper.
Donna, you're recognized.
Yes, regarding some of the task force outreach, I just wanted to shout out kudos to some of the NGOs I know that there have been 100 blankets donated to the task force, and also, about 100 gift cards for food donated to the task force. And those are just some that I'm aware of, but a lot of effort has been going on, with the NGOs, boots on the ground, reach into the strip clubs, outreach to the strip clubs. Tomorrow, there's a group going out to spread awareness to the RV parks and marinas. So there's a lot of boots on the ground spreading awareness all over the place. So the NGOs have been quite busy as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much for reminding me that there's a whole lot of folks out there, and I didn't want to leave them out for sure. But one of the other sort of great opportunities as a consequence of the NFL's commitment towards the fight on human trafficking is that, the corporate partnerships are starting to form in a great way to support the nonprofit organizations, as well as our efforts in developing resources for those in this process. So, which is more about what the Hillsborough Heroes program will ultimately be. So we're looking forward to that. The next item on the agenda is the update to code enforcement. Susan Bradford is on the line, if I'm not mistaken. Ms. Bradford, you're recognized.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm the manager of regulatory compliance under code enforcement with Hillsborough County. And I wanted to give you an update of what our unit has been doing in the fight against human trafficking. We enforce County Ordinance 19-21, which is the human trafficking signage ordinance, which requires adult entertainment businesses to have human trafficking signage in multiple languages, Cantonese, Chinese, English, and Spanish. They're supposed to be located at the front entrance of the business when you go in every bathroom stall, and every changing room. So our efforts started last March. We had a multi-agency countywide task force, and we visited over 300 massage, bathhouses, adult entertainment locations within Hillsborough County, and we gave them the information they needed to come into compliance with the signage. We sent out warning letters to the adult businesses because we found out that the massage locations are under the state of Florida. So the Department of Health, they kind of override the ordinance. So they have their own requirements for human trafficking signs. So we sent out warning letters. COVID hit. And then in August of this year or last year, we conducted compliance checks for the whole county for adult entertainment. And only 10 places were not in compliance. We were surprised, but we issued 10 citations, and they cost $265 each. So then last Thursday, we teamed up with TPD and the city code, neighborhood enhancement. And we went into the adult locations in the city, and we found 2 places that were not in compliance. So we issued them 2 citations. We're going to follow up with them in another week or so. So this has been very good for us because we've been able to go into the locations, into all, a lot of them have different levels, floors, rooms, and we are allowed access into a lot of the locations. We're able to gather intelligence and pass it on to law enforcement. So we've been doing that. We also work vehicle for hire. So we regulate all the taxi cabs and limos in Hillsborough County. So we're pretty busy with that. We're out at the airport on a regular basis. Right now, the investigators are all around the locations of the Super Bowl. We want to make sure that we don't have any people getting into taxi cabs and limos that are not taxi cabs and limos. They're supposed to, under our ordinance, have specialized stickers for safety purposes. We've already been out there and we've been citing people that are gypsy limos, and we want to make sure that young people or anyone doesn't get into an unsafe limousine or taxi cab. So they also, and Heather, you might be able to elaborate on this, but they're required to have the 1 hour training through Hillsborough County. I'll let you go ahead.
Sure. So one of the nice, and this is an ordinance that went before the BOCC to require them to take the Hillsborough Heroes Program training prior to actually driving for any big event. So we've been trying to work through some of the kind of more complex, nothing is easy, right? So we're trying to work through some of the more complex issues that come around with, okay, we've got parent companies. How do we make sure that each person, because several people actually register right at the end to drive with those parent companies. So I guess my understanding so far is that the consequences if a driver does not register and actually take the training, even if we don't have record of that immediately, if they have not, they will not be able to drive in the future with those organizations, which is actually a pretty significant consequence for them. So, but I think it's going smoothly, and I'm seeing more and more folks going through the Carry Corporation. We've got one called Global Transport that we're looking into. So I think that it's a great ordinance, especially looking forward, not just in the Super Bowl, but moving forward with any big event. So thank you, Susan.
Yeah, and the really takeaway this past year is just at how well all the agencies have worked together and how our communication has been good, and we've learned who to pass on intelligence to, and I think we're doing good things. I don't know if anyone has any questions.
I just want to thank you, Ms. Bradford, for the hard work that you have done. Being the sponsor of both of those, if you want to call it that, I brought to the agenda of the BOCC both of those ordinances, and realizing it was going to create more work for our county workers. But I've been hugely impressed with the ability to actually take a what seems like a relatively small step in terms of 2 ordinances has actually really opened up the door for being able to not only work with our business owners that need to know what the rules are, but also offered an opportunity to improve transparency and investigative tools for outreach, as well as to allow law enforcement to really get the information they need when there is a business at risk. And I think that's the key here, is to make sure the businesses know that there's a risk out there, that they need to make sure they protect themselves and don't participate in human trafficking, either inadvertently or deliberately. So thank you very, very much for your work. You are our, along with our law enforcement and everybody else, boots on the ground. And I appreciate your teamwork.
Thank you.
Any other questions of Ms. Bradford?
Commissioner,
Yes.
I just wanted to thank Susan too.
I'm sorry, who's speaking? Who's speaking?
Lee Bercaw.
Oh, thank you, Lee. Sorry.
I just wanted to thank Susan too, because her help is instrumental to us, and I can't recall a relationship as good as it's ever been between county and city code and the police department. So thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. And I love it when we all work together. It's amazing how that happens. All the good things. Next on the agenda, unless there's any other comments or questions, is a presentation by Tomas Lares, the Vice President and CVO of United Abolitionists. He's doing a presentation in partnership with much of the efforts that we're doing on triage training for the 211 and Crisis Center that we heard earlier. Tomas, you're recognized.
Well, thank you, Commissioner. As she said, my name is Tomas Lars. I'm the president and founder of United Abolitionists, formerly Florida Abolitionists, that many of you have known. And before I state what I'm going to state today for a few minutes, I just want to really recognize the collaboration that we've had here in Orlando with Tampa for many years, including with Dottie, who's on this call, and with Connie Rose, Brent Woody. And I just want to thank you for the leadership you have in Tampa and the visionaries you have. And so it's coming full circle for me because I was part of the first Super Bowl outreach. As you know, Tampa in '09 was the first city, I think, in the United States to do an outreach for the Super Bowl. And that was with Greg Christopher from the FBI. And since that time, what really launched what I'm doing now is the crisis, our hotline for human trafficking. And also it started the hotel outreach, which then affected just the advocacy that we brought to the statewide council under Bondi. And Corporal Alan Wilkett from Pasco and I were able to really contribute to House Bill 851 for the hotel training. And so it all started though in Tampa. And so I just wanted to recognize y'all for that as I start today. But one of the things that we noticed back then is when the calls were coming in, that it was really important that there was really a seamless action when the calls were being received. And also, who do you call right at 3 in the morning, or who do you call at 3 in the afternoon on Sunday? And so what we developed in the Orlando area and working with the National Human Trafficking Hotline in DC was a real seamless, specified program of response that was 24/7. And part of that is what we have been able to develop all these years. And recently we did some training with the Tampa Bay Crisis Center. So Dr. Curry, I don't know if, I know you had stated you wanted me to address a couple of things. So if you want to outline that, and I'll address it.
If I can get my microphone to stay unmuted for a moment. So I know first you and I talked about, Tomas, about, you discussed the unique approach that United Abolitionists take, but can you talk about how you, Corporal Wilkett, and Kim Squires, who's also on the call today, worked with 211 in the Crisis Center to train their intervention specialists?
Sure. So we did a 3-part series where we, in December and then early January this month, and training the Crisis Center on the various different calls. We did some case studies. Kim spoke as a survivor leader to what she has experienced on different hotlines. And we just really felt like it was important to address that immediate response and the seamless, really knowing who to call, right? And that I was seeing that your crisis center is really equipped already for responding to other crises in the area, and how we have also seen domestic violence, child abuse, sexual assault relating in a lot of our human trafficking calls, and being able to really direct that caller, whether it's a survivor or law enforcement or other first responder, to the correct services. Again, the key being making it seamless.
Okay, it did unmute. Magic. Actually, I've gotten really good feedback, both from Kathleen Kemke, who's on the call, but Mordecai Dixon, who runs the 211 hotline. And there's been some outstanding feedback on that training, in particular, the ways in which it's survivor informed. And I know how lucky we all know we are as a commission to be survivor informed in all of our endeavors. So finally, how do you see this working at the statewide level? And how do you envision collaborating with the national hotline moving forward, even more than you already are?
I really believe that, Dr. Curry, that it's important that your community knows your community. And the model that we are recommending is, and which you already have shown as a continuum, is as you receive calls either from the national hotline or from local first responders, that that stays within the community. So I believe your 211 can be a model for our state and beyond on how to, again, take those local calls, one of the things that we saw on a gap was the National Human Trafficking Hotline, as many of us have been giving out that number for years and have been working with them. They don't know our communities like we know our communities. So they're calling our community, or they're calling whoever's on their list or whoever has registered for that list. And it may not be the correct stakeholder in that city. And we see that 211 is perfectly, I believe, positioned to be that entity working with the national hotline and other first responders. Again, it's about being seamless. It's about being victim-centered and making sure that, you know, a lot of times that a survivor or somebody reaching out is going to only call one time. And we also found that working with the national hotline, there sometimes would be a waiting period because they're so busy. And so the model, again, that we're recommending is the local stakeholders, like the 211, are the lead for the community in taking those calls.
That's wonderful. I think one of the things that we can recognize is that the urgency, if we move this out of the abstract zone of what human trafficking is out here and locate it in that immediate urgency of somebody who has maybe 30 seconds, this really does streamline that approach. So that spaghetti model that Commissioner you've pointed to before, we can really streamline that and tailor that at a very local level, connected still to the national effort. So I know, Kim Squires, you're on the call. Did you have anything that you wanted to add to that? You're an incredible survivor, advocate, mentor, leader in our community, so we appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's such an honor to be on here today. So thank you for inviting me. As Heather mentioned, my name is Kim Squires and I'm a survivor leader in the community. I'm also a survivor mentor on staff with More to Life Foundation, which is an open doors outreach network provider. So some of the things that I was able to bring to the table from my perspective with Tomas through that training to 211 Crisis Center was basically how to properly be victim-centered and trauma-informed while handling survivors or victims. Also how to prepare resources and referrals, how to address and speak to victims. You know, so as these calls are coming in to their hotline, you know, it's very imperative that they understand how to really talk to a survivor, the things that they say, how to really handle that case-by-case situation. As you've heard many mention on this call today, it's crucial as how you speak to them and how you handle that case, because that may be the only time that they can call in. And if you lose that chance because you didn't handle that call properly, or you wasn't trauma informed, or being victim centered, it means everything. It's life or death, right? So again, it was just a very much of an honor to be able to bring my survivor leadership, my survival perspective to the table and be able to offer that in that training. So there's a lot of things that we covered that day that obviously I don't have enough time to really share on this call, but it was just very informative, and I'm just grateful for all the feedback that we got. So thank you for allowing me to share, Heather.
Thank you both Thomas and Kim for bringing that to our attention. One of the things that did evolve out of the Criminal Justice Subcommittee, when I presented to them, I talked to Donna Lazinski with the Sheriff's Department to ask questions about what's the process once someone comes in and is actually in the jail who is a victim, and what network of referral resources is our law enforcement officers utilizing to assist individuals who may not realize or may not have understood that there are resources to help someone who may be a victim and not really fully know how to get out of the situation they're in, or really fully recognize the situation they're in, given that they've had so many limited choices. So she forwarded, Donna Lazinski forwarded to me a list of the survivor-led as well as other NGOs that they have on their short list. I'm sure there's some commonality with what the Crisis Center is utilizing. But what she did say to me, and I think this is something we as a commission need to try and address, or at least recognize, is historically they've utilized an organization that has been able to come into the jails and work with those that are pending trial or pending cases are still actually being housed in the jail. And due to COVID, they've not been able to do their weekly visits as they had previously been done. So I'm thinking, I guess we need a telehealth solution, or we need some way that these individuals can still be reached by the organization that provides support, and recognizing the new and frustrating world we're in during a pandemic where face-to-face, exposure is rather risky, especially in a facility that, you can't just protect yourself as well as you might otherwise. So I think, the work that's being done here is critically important, recognizing the new frustrating world of pandemic that we live in, and how we deliver services is a good way of us really putting our heads together to find ways that we can address those individuals that provide services and make that safety net solid, but as well as ways that we can reach those victims that are interested in taking a step forward and taking the risk of actually becoming not only a self-directed individual, but also to get through the legal process that allows them to assist law enforcement in having some success in the prosecution element associated with the crime of human trafficking. And so it's complicated, but we're making progress. And this team effort has been really reflective on the great work that's been done in the last year. And really, we are in February. It was literally a year ago, a little more than a year ago, that we created this commission. So I'll say at every meeting, just in case, unless we start slowing down. I can't tell you how much I appreciate the stakeholders in this room, virtual room, because the amount of work that's been done in the last year is stunning and impressive, and a true testament to the commitment that we all have for the world we want to see, and how we're going to get that done. So I wanted to again say, so thank you. Unless there's other comments or questions from Tomas and Kim, do I see any other questions or comments? Tomas, you want to wrap it up?
Commissioner, I just wanted to state that thank you for your leadership. And again, this commission has accomplished, I think, more in 1 year during COVID than I've seen a lot of other regions in our state and nation do in many years. And so thank you for your leadership, and thank you for Dr. Curry for her leadership in your direction, because I see Tampa Bay being a model for our nation.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that feedback. I'd like to toot my own horn with my team, but it's really nice having someone else say it too. So thank you very much. With that, the next item on the agenda before we wrap up and take some public comment is our staff update from our staff leader, Dr. Heather Curry. Do you recognize?
This is going to be the most abbreviated ever, since we covered 98% of the work during the course of this meeting. But I do want to recognize two things. I want to note that that our school board member, Karen Perez, actually is now a clinically certified human trafficking victim services provider, which is pretty awesome. So she went through that training. I also want to say that as we listen to Tomas, he's not going to brag about himself, but he was actually appointed by the Attorney General and awarded as the Advocate of the Year. So we've got some amazing folks who have joined with us across the regions. So thanks to everyone. It's been an incredible year from, like we said, last January to now. There's been a lot of work, but we have a lot of work to do. So I'm looking forward.
Well, that was quick. Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, right. We're going to wrap this up. The only thing we have is, I don't know, did we have anyone sign up for public comment?
We do not.
We do not. Okay, with that, unless there's anyone else, if you'll raise your hand, wave, or Mr. Klug, can you?
Yes.
You're recognized.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to note that Port Tampa Bay has been working with Truckers Against Trafficking. And the port has about 10,000 truck moves a day. And so it's really important that we make this awareness to truckers about human trafficking. And that's worked. And so just want to give you some stats based upon last year's annual report of the Truckers Against Trafficking. We were able to train over 1 million people in TAT training, that's Truckers Against Trafficking training. That's up by 170,000 trainees. With their posters and video campaigns, they were able to be responsible for over 2,700 calls into the National Human Trafficking Hotline, which identified about 708 cases of human trafficking, and about 1,300 victims were identified. So these truckers are not just commercial truck drivers, but they're also bus drivers, school bus drivers, motor coach drivers, truck stops, such as Travel Centers of America, shipping partners, law enforcement, et cetera. So we're trying to get the word out, not just the typical places, that you might find human trafficking, but, truckers, I see them at truck stops, you see, prostitution and things occurring there. So it's been working. So the awareness campaign is getting out across the board in areas that you may not expect. That's it for me. Thanks.
I'm so glad you said that. That's terrific. I did get an email from them highlighting the work that they were doing, or that element of our team you're doing, and I'm very pleased to get that report. Thank you very much for letting us know. And as well as the port's involvement is critically important. We want to make sure that we address those opportunities. That's why you're here, and thank you very much for making sure you help share that message. Dottie, you're recognized.
Yes, Commissioner Overman, and just to piggyback what Mr. Klug had stated, the Attorney General actually had a press conference this morning at the Florida Highway Patrol honoring their partnership with the National Beer Wholesalers Association, I think it was, and our own Pepin Distributing Company is a big part of that. So Pepin, apparently now they've trained all of their drivers. They have the hotline number on all of their distribution vehicles. So it was really very, very exciting to see that this morning. There also is a press conference tomorrow I just have heard about at the stadium on the lot between on the corner of Del Mabry and Himes. It's the International Justice Mission is bringing together the Athletes in Action group that they do work, every Super Bowl. And it's really a prayer, a call to prayer, over the stadium and the Super Bowl. So I'm excited that that's happening. And I just want to give a shout out to the No More Foundation. We had an amazing event on this past Saturday with there was almost 500 people in attendance. COVID friendly, not COVID friendly, but anti-COVID friendly, social distancing masks, but two amazing national organizations. That's the reason for this event that the No More Foundation brought together. SOAP and then In Our Backyard. SOAP did training and outreach into the hotels and motels, and along with that took booklets of missing children into the hotel motels. And from what we understand, 5 children have already been identified by people in the hotels saying that they had seen these children recently in their lobbies. And then In Our Backyard does training and outreach into the convenience stores. And I don't have those numbers yet. I know Cheryl Chicky, I thought, was on this phone call. She is the executive director for In Our Backyard. But it was just so exciting to bring the community together. There are over 30 anti-trafficking organizations as vendors for this, and it was just very, very well received, and I'm excited for the outcome and how many more missing children will be identified and found that will not be prey to traffickers. So I just wanted to say that's exciting for our community to come together. Lieutenant Governor did a video for us, the Attorney General, Mayor Castor, Sheriff Chronister, and Coach Tony Dungy. It was very uplifting and inspiring. Survivors were brought up on the stage afterward, probably, 10 to 15, and it was just moved everyone to tears seeing them on the stage, and some of those survivors are on this phone call. But anyway, I just wanted to do a shout out that our community is definitely one team Tampa Bay.
That's great. And thank you, Dottie. I actually saw some of the photos from that event on social media, and it did look like a real success. And in terms of not only the partners that were part of that whole event, but also, you know, the outreach and the attendance. So that's terrific. Thank you so very, very much. And there's one other item that I was thinking about, but just a reminder. Dr. Curry is going to send out the calendar. If you could take a look at that and indicate if just in the glance of the dates that you're presented with, if there would be a problem that you know of now, please just let us know so that we can approve the calendar officially. I need to get the calendar on the county website so that our public meetings are noticed in their proper order. So take a look at that when you get that and make sure that you give us any feedback that may complement it. And then we're working with the state task force to make sure that we're complementing those meetings as well. And we'll get you those dates as well. Any other items before we adjourn?
I'd like to say something.
I was just going to say,
Hi, it's Connie Rose with Victim to Survivors, and I want to do just a couple shout outs. First, to the commission overall, thank you. Thank you so much, because I know that these past few months have been a little taxing for all of us, but we've come together and really found a way to make a difference with Super Bowl, and we didn't just stop with Super Bowl. The conversation is to move on. Also, thank you. The SAC committee would like to thank you. Those of you that don't know what that is, it's the Survivor Advisory Committee, for really listening to the voice of survivors and having that input. And then third, I just would like to do a shout out to Sarah Mahoney and to her group, Tampa Athletes, and they have a whole incredible program about ending human trafficking. And yesterday, Victim to Survivors was honored and picked up enough supplies to finish our backpack for hope. So if anyone needs backpacks for the weekend moving forward, we'll have them done by tomorrow morning. But I just want to do a shout out. So it's been great to see our community come together to really make a difference. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Connie, for bringing that up. And Sarah, thank you. Thank you for the work that's been done there. Did you want to say something before we adjourn? We can
mute myself here. No, it was just a great honor to be able to do something. We're one of the organizations I'm involved with is called Tampa Athletes Unite, and we're a group of triathletes and runners who want to empower survivors through sport and also bring awareness to human trafficking in America, racing around the country, wearing a big red X and prompting the conversation of what is the X about, and it allows us to talk to people, not just in Florida, but around the country. And, it's so funny, it's sort of a God thing sometimes. When we were looking to support another organization in Tampa this year, we've had the very fortunate to have supported Dottie when she was at the Salvation Army for their emergency shelter. We've supported Bridging Freedom and the U.S. Institute Against Human Trafficking. And as we were figuring out who we're going to support this year, Connie happened to send both Heather and myself an email about wanting to do a donation drive. So we were able to double the ask practically. So many people want to get involved and care so deeply, and particularly with the Super Bowl right in our backyard this year, and knowing that the need will be great. So it was our great pleasure and honor to work with Connie. So so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Before I wrap up, I'm going to give you a pep talk, getting ready for a Sunday. Please wear your mask, wash your hands, and keep your distance. Go out and have a great time. And root for our home team who's playing in their home stadium for the Super Bowl this year. Hopefully it's not the only history-making event we'll ever have, but it's certainly making history for us locally. And because of that, we've been really able to take advantage of the whole Tampa Bay region being highlighted and having human trafficking be a lead issue with such a great event. We were privileged to have the opportunity to have a greater outreach than I think we would have otherwise. So thanks to the great work all of you have done, and thanks for your commitment to it. And with that, unless I see anybody jumping up and down wanting to say anything, we are adjourned. Sorry for the 15 minutes over. But thank you very much. Have a great weekend. Do it safely, and we'll see you next time.